Hey everyone, today I'm going to have a list of 5 Space Marine chapters I think are really underrated. Now don't get me wrong, there's plenty of chapters out there that don't really have any lore or history and are kind of there as placeholders for you to kind of speculate about and have your own imagination. But there are plenty of chapters out there that have huge troves of lore that aren't really in the mainstream stores at all. So here's 5 chapters that you may not have heard of, yet I'd hope to see further expanded upon due to the great lore surrounding them. Number 1. The Iron Snakes. The Iron Snakes are descendants of Rebelk Element's Ultramarines, possibly the most strict proponents of the Primarch's Codex Astartes. However, the Iron Snakes have been secluded among the Reef Stars, being the sole chapter left to protect this sector of the galaxy from the likes of the Dark Eldar, a cruel and marauding race who are infamous for pillaging faraway fringe worlds and their horrid torture tactics. This has gradually deviated their standards from the dictations of the Codex Astartes, and as such they have several unique characteristics that separate them from their ultramarine progenitors. Besides having a unique variant of Codex-approved company structure, the Iron Snakes are considered specialists in dealing with the Corsair like Dark Eldar. Their preferred close-quarter weapons are powered sea lances, which they also use for ritual hunts amidst their oceanic world of Athaka. The Iron Snakes also feature an apothecary in each tactical squad. However, unlike the Red Scorpions, these apothecaries do not serve as sergeants. Instead, they have the traditional Codex-compliant sergeants leading these squads, which are respectively named after the sergeant in command. Also, their gene seed is believed to contain a mutation that provides an even more volatile form of acidic spit from the standard Astartes, which has been used to melt the faces of their enemies when they cannot bring their arms to bear. Forever venerating their blue ocean world of Athaka, the Iron Snakes are not only famous for their constant battles with the Dark Eldar, but have also successfully purged the Greenskins from their sector of the galaxy for over a millennia. Number 2. The Lamentors. Part of what is known as the Cursed 21st Founding, the Lamentors are descendants of the famed Blood Angels chapter. However, unlike their precursors, the Lamentors rarely ever succumb to the genetic affliction known as the Red Curse, or the inescapable Black Rage. It is believed that this mutation has been largely erased from the Lamentors' gene seed, and only the smallest numbers of Lamentors ever fall into the hands into the Berserker Rage caused by the psychic echoes of Sanguinius' death. While it would seem reasonable for the Blood Angels and their following successor chapters to seek out the Lamentors for answers, and maybe even help regarding this, most Astartes who know of their existence find them detestable. Firstly, the Lamentors seem to have been cursed since their founding. For whatever inexplicable reason, they have been on the brink of extinction for their entire existence as a chapter, and it seems that tragedy never fails to somehow befall them. It is not that the Lamentors are unskilled or incapable as a chapter or anything like that. They are actually famed for their specialized airborne units. Rather, it is that whenever the Lamentors are mechanized, it seems that the worst case situation always comes to bear. As such, most chapters, including the Blood Angels, find them to be something of a bad omen, and many times the Lamentors are left to fend for themselves amidst their planetary missions. Secondly, while the Lamentors have largely eradicated the Red Thirst, it is not quite true that their gene seed is perfect by any stretch of the imagination, and it kind of does bear its own unique affliction. Lamentors often battle with a feeling of extreme melancholy, a psychic depression that makes them truly dour and grim. Whether this is due to the gene seed alone, or in addition to their constant tragedies, is not completely clear, but is largely believed to be a symptom of their gene seed. Due to the fact that Lamentors are so few in number and largely remain isolated amidst their fleets, it is pretty unlikely that we're ever going to find a solid answer. While lauded for their heroism and perseverance, it seems that everyone does want them at an arm's length. Number 3. The Morta Factors. Another successor chapter of the Stoic Ultramarines, the Morta Factors contain a unique reverence for death that reflects their name. Firstly, their fortress monastery, the Bastilla Mortis, and even their battle cruisers are essentially weaponized crypts for the chapter's fallen heroes. While it isn't too unusual for any Space Marine chapter to hold prized relics amidst their battlements, the Morta Factors take this to the absolute extreme by adorning almost every hallway and sanctum with the bones of those distant past. Many visiting Space Marine chapters find its inner sanctums really disturbing, as countless thousands of skulls, corpses, and remnants of the dead line its inner walls in a seemingly twisted display of death. However, the Morta Factors in reality hold the utmost reverence for the dead, and believe their way of displaying the remains of their comrades to be the highest honor for those lost in battle. Secondly, the Morta Factors pull their new conscripts from a night world called Pasal. Blanketed in constant darkness, the inhabitants of Pasal live in a harsh, tribalistic society full of taboo practices such as shamanism and cannibalism. These practices still play a pivotal role in the culture of the Morta Factors post-recruitment. Many of the Space Marines still practice rites of blood drinking, flesh eating, and deep death-like meditation, all practices they believe allows them to commune closely with the God Emperor himself. Before the repelling of a Tyranid invasion on Tarsus Ultra by a joint effort on the behalf of the Ultramarines and the Morta Factors, the Ultramarines' 4th Company captain, Ventress, was forced to perform one of these rites to prove his willingness to work alongside the Morta Factors. In this rite, he was made to drink the blood of one of the Morta Factors Space Marines, but not before the blood was mixed with the spit of a Morta Factors command officer. Eventually, the Ultramarines' 4th Company came to respect their successor chapter, but as you can imagine at the time, there was a tense layer of superstition levied against the Morta Factors for their obsession over the dead and their shamanistic practices. Number 4. The Exorcist. The Space Marine chapter known as the Exorcist are by far the most unorthodox and radical Space Marine chapter featured on this list. Firstly, the original founding chapter is exceedingly unique to those of standard Codex Astartes. Sprung from the largely mysterious 13th founding, and what is sometimes called the Dark Founding, the Exorcists are largely believed to be descendants of the Inquisition's Grey Knights. To the dismay of many of those in the Inquisition, however, the recruitment process involves purposely setting forth their acolyte to be possessed by the denizens of the Warp and made into a temporary demon host. As expected, many of these acolytes are horribly mutated and killed in the most sickening of fashions. However, those who are able to resist and repel the possession of the demons with the intervention of an Inquisitor are allowed to live and are taken into the ranks of the Exorcist Space Marine chapter. Exorcists are often on the receiving end of the Ecclesiarchy's criticism, believing that any of those who lived at one time as a demon host bears a permanent wound upon the soul and psyche. Despite this, records show that only about 1% of the Exorcists ever succumb to another instance of demon possession post-recruitment. Specializing in assaults against the horrors of the Warp, the Exorcists therefore serve as the Order of Malleus's Chamber Militant, their military branch of demon hunters. Because of the Grey Knights serving as the original progenitors, their gene seed is exceedingly pure, though it does also feature some unique characteristics. Firstly, the gene seed is believed to produce 3 times the amount of adrenaline to that of the normal Astartes, heightening their vigor in battle to ridiculous extents. Also, it greatly reduces dopamine levels to an astonishingly low count, throwing them into fits of hatred in the face of those who are touched by the Warp. It is a great debate between Puritans and radicals of the Inquisition as to whether the recruitment process of the Exorcist Space Marines go beyond the confines of the God Emperor's wishes. But, serving as the Order of Malleus's Chamber Militant, their effectiveness is never in question. And lastly, number 5, the Minotaurs. While it is debatable how underrated Minotaurs truly are, I do believe that the unique positions that they do serve upon the Imperium is vastly understated. The Minotaurs are from the cursed 21st founding, a largely botched attempt to purify the Astartes gene seed, which was known as Project Homo sapiens Novus. However, this project resulted in several unpredictable gene seed variations that in turn earned the ire of both the Inquisition and chapters of other foundings. The Minotaurs are not vastly different in tactics from the usual Astartes, but rather it is their preferred enemy that makes them vastly different. The Minotaurs are specialized soldiers in the killing of other Adeptus Astartes, and believe that only other Space Marines serve as worthy opponents. While they obviously participate in wars that involve many manners of Xenos or heretics, the Minotaurs often mechanize their forces to confront renegade Space Marine chapters, or even those who they believe are straying beyond the Emperor's light. It is not uncommon for them to engage other Space Marine chapters without the consent from the Inquisition, and as such, their status as a compliant chapter in the realm of the Imperium is largely debated. While their loyalty to the God Emperor is never questioned, Many others of the Adeptus Astartes wince at their fervent disdain for any of those outside their chapter ranks. It is not uncommon for the Minotaurs to blatantly ignore the call to battle, and in the rare occurrence that they do make a joint effort with another chapter, all manners of duels and small skirmishes break out before and after the commencement of operations. It seems that the Minotaurs get some sort of satisfaction in antagonizing those from outside their own forces, insulting Primarchs, chapter masters, and cultures within other Imperial factions. Despite their antagonistic nature, the Minotaurs do receive some sort of special protection from outside scrutiny. Details on their gene seed are hidden from all Imperial records, and their origins are completely redacted from all but the absolute highest of the Imperial security levels. Some would question what purpose the Minotaurs are truly meant to serve amidst their position with the Imperium, but something tells me we may not find out until the race of mankind faces its most desperate of days.